Parliament approves billions in funding. Multiple electrocutions over the weekend. And Echo Atlantic ready for next well in Ornduk Block. Hi, I'm Enrico Bulford, and this is Uncut News. Do you see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. This morning, the National Assembly cleared $2.9 billion in advances the government already took from the contingency fund. Fulton Lawrence had asked the Prime Minister to defend the additional $1.7 billion allocated to his office when in February, the House approved a whopping $3.5 billion of issuance of subsidies and contributions to local organizations. Well, according to Phillips, $1.7 billion is reflective of an invoice submitted by both sides for electricity supplied to the Linden Electricity Company. Monday's approved advances also included approximately $740.1 million for the Agriculture Ministry for drainage works across the nation, $360 million for the Ministry of Natural Resources to validate our carbon offset credits, $50.5 million to the Ministry of Home Affairs for improved DNA testing, and $48.85 million from the contingency fund for the hosting of Amerindian Heritage Month. Why that last one was an emergency, I have no idea. The Parliament also approved $1 billion in supplementary funding for Guyana. $363 million is for the Albion estate, $76 million for the Beaumont estate, and $561 million for Rose Hall. This is in addition to the $6 billion allocated in the 2022 national budget. In defending the allocation, Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa explained that there are greater operating costs for several of the estates. He also said these sums are needed for an ongoing process of retooling the estates. Back in January, the government gave Guyana $11 billion and also injected $600 million to assist with wages and salaries. Then in August, another $3.4 billion in supplementary funding was provided. Wow, it sounds like I'm in the wrong business. Last night, 32-year-old nurse Silochani Hansraj and her husband, 39-year-old Prahalad Jagnarayan, were electrocuted by exposed electrical wires in an alley at Success Sporting Area on the east coast of Demerara. According to reports, the couple had complained about how dangerous the wires were hours before they died. According to the couple's daughter, the two of them died last night while they were walking to their home nearby in the neighborhood. There is no word if the police have opened an investigation into who has installed the illegal wiring. Unfortunately, they weren't the only ones who were electrocuted this weekend. On Saturday, 29-year-old machinist Deepak Ramdeen was electrocuted while erecting a metal Christmas tree outside of a home in Lusignan on the east coast. Ramdeen and several other men were erecting the 27-foot-tall metal Christmas tree when it touched an overhead electrical wire. Ramdeen and 3 other men were hospitalized with severe burns about their bodies, while the 29-year-old died whilst receiving medical treatment. Nicholas Prawn, UNICEF representative in Guyana and Suriname, handed over 100 water tanks, 10,000 collapsible water containers, and 2 million water purification tablets to the CDC today to help the organization's emergency response efforts. These supplies were obtained as part of UNICEF's water, sanitation, and hygiene program in Guyana, and they complement UNICEF's support to local governments in increasing the accessibility and availability of safe drinking water in regions where people are in need.
Did you know it's bad luck to start the new year with a Brock-up truck? Make this a December to remember with Powered Automotive. Powered Automotive has truck parts and spares from all the major brands you know and love at prices you won't find anywhere else. Visit them at 491 EE Eccles or call or WhatsApp them on 697-0171. Save big on truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana.
You can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or to supplement your current hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking with Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. On Friday, the relative suspected of murdering 76-year-old Audrey Harris Hyde was arrested by public-spirited individuals while he was on Leopold Street in Working Rush, Georgetown. He was arrested on Friday. The 50-year-old man, who police claimed was mentally ill, was detained by concerned citizens who then turned him over to the police. Mohammed Ramzan, a 48-year-old laborer, was apprehended by the police. The cops issued a wanted bulletin for him last week in connection with Sumitra Saw's murder. He is being held despite the woman's niece admitting that she made up the lie to incriminate him and escape responsibility. Ramzan has denied any involvement in the woman's brutal murder. He has subsequently offered detectives an alibi, and they are claimed to be attempting to determine whether or not the alibi is indeed true. Now for news in the region. Just like our new $2,000 note, the Central Bank of Barbados has released a new series of polymer banknotes rather than the traditional cotton-based paper substrate. Unlike ours, though, their new designs have a vertical rather than horizontal layout, larger portraits, and a cleaner, more modern look. The notes also feature raised marks to assist the visually impaired to differentiate between denominations. So, no one's going to be robbing the blind people anymore. Now for today's oil update. Echo Atlantic Oil and Gas Limited said it is fully funded for the next well to be drilled in the Ornduk block, offshore Guyana, in 2023. Echo said that the partners are currently drawing up plans to drill at least one well into the light oil targets in the next petroleum agreement exploration phase, which begins in 2023. It said further updates will be made on this matter in due course. In the Ornduk block, Tullow Oil is the operator of the block, whilst Echo Atlantic Oil and Gas, Total Energies, and Qatar Petroleum are partners. In other oil-related news, just days after Chevron was approved to export Venezuelan crude oil, the nation's largest crude processing facility has broken down, sources told Reuters on Friday, thus halting gasoline production at the key state-run refinery. The halt in gasoline production was caused by the breakdown of the fluid catalytic cracker. Amway, together with the nearby Cardon refinery, make up the Paraguana Refining Center in Venezuela's western Falcon state, with a combined crude processing capacity of 955,000 barrels per day. Cardon's catalytic cracker, which can process up to 45,000 barrels per day, was still operational on Friday. Despite this ongoing issue, Chevron and its productions should not be affected at all.
As an independent online news entity, being politically objective can cost you a lot of money in lost sponsorship opportunities. That's because most local companies are often too scared to associate themselves with a news entity that is uncompromising with the truth. We do appreciate our sponsors, as their support is what has allowed us to maintain our integrity without fear and remain dedicated to you, our viewers. Every night, thousands of viewers rely on Uncut News because they are tired of the biased and poorly presented mainstream media in Guyana. But to truly compete, we need your help to grow Uncut News from being the most watched online news to the most watched news in Guyana, period. Help us by becoming a monthly subscriber today. There are special rewards at every subscription level, including your name in the credits, personalized gifts, and more. Your monthly contribution helps us to stay independent by spending less time worrying about paying the bills and more time on keeping you informed. So click the link in the description of this video and become a subscriber today.
Which means it's officially robbery season. That's why you need to get security for your home and business through Sheriff Security Service. Sheriff Security offers well-trained guards, armed and unarmed patrol, marine patrol, K9 services. These people live in our drones. Why? Because your security is their highest priority. You've seen the rest. Now hire the best. Hire Sheriff Security Service today. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's Car of the Week. Currently on sale is this 2016 Toyota Crown Athlete. It comes with Bluetooth mount rims, new tires, TV, CD, stereo fog lamps, spot camera, and much, much more. Buy cash for $9.95 million, or pay as low as $1.99 million down with around $170,000 monthly for 5 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info. Visit the showrooms at 171 Peter Street, Queenstown, a lot to Amashi, and Southern America Century for this sweet tea. Now for our Uncut News, the news poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Ghana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it placed was. But before we get into that, I want to say a special thanks to David Griffith. He's our first monthly supporter. We really appreciate your contribution, and we'll be sure to keep up the good work. Now for Friday's question. I ask, what should we do about violence within the family? Willow Darrow says, well, for the family violence, I think the government should enact the death penalty again. Oh my. We will not see so many murders, period. 3 to 5 years in jail is nothing, since they will come out and most likely repeat. I talked to an offender that has been to Mazaruni prison multiple times. He spent over 40 years in and out of there. Like he said, he cuts his time and do the crime, behaves good, and gets released early, just to repeat. I never thought of that fact. You're absolutely correct. There are many repeat offenders out there. Nicholas Bassard says, if we, the neighbors, try to talk sense into the people heading in the direction of violence, we more or less become part of it, and the human services can't do much either because the victims eventually drop these cases and it turns into a trilogy before it makes uncut news again. I think we should try to work on the new generation more. Indeed, train them early before they start to take on all these terrible mindsets. Jay Jairam says, the causes of violence are multiple. The psychological literature usually divides these causes into 4 highly overlapping categories: biological, socialization, cognitive, and situational factors. Indeed, all 4 of which the government can play a role in trying to shape in a way that will be more positive. And yes, Barefoot Wanderer, you're absolutely correct about this one. Now for tonight's question. I like Barefoot Wanderer's proposition, so I'll ask you all. Do you think that the government should try to find a way to actually put these carbon credits on the stock market so we all can invest? I want you to think about that question. So that's in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Bulford saying good night, folks.